Hey guys, welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to be putting oil in the motor and cranking it up just with the starter. I don't have ignition on it or anything. Just spinning it up to see if it makes oil pressure and if there's any serious leaks in the oil, because I rebuilt it. I put it back together about 2 years ago, and it hasn't had oil in it since. I'm getting really close to the point of going to be trying to fire it up. So before I get to that point, I want to put some oil in there and see if it at least builds pressure. What I've been doing leading up to this point is as I've been working on the electrical, I've also been switching back and doing some stuff on the motor. And what I just did recently was I pulled the motor off because I couldn't remember, because when I was working on the chassis, I had the motor off and on and off and on and off and on so many times, I couldn't actually remember if I torqued the gland nut or if I torqued the clutch. So I just pulled the motor off, I checked torque on all that stuff, I put the motor back on, I set the valve lash, I changed the oil pump. I'm working on the carburetor right now, so the carburetor is going to be off while I'm doing this. So now I'm at the point where I want to throw some oil in there and spin it up and see if my oil pressure light goes off, just to give me an indication that at least on the oiling system, everything's ready to go before I actually get to the point where I'm trying to spin it up. And also, this is the first air-cooled Volkswagen motor that I put back together, and I feel like there's a lot of places where it could leak, and I want to put some oil in there, slosh it around, and see if there's any serious leaks before I get to the point of putting fuel in the tank and fuel in the carburetor and all that. You can see here I've got the front of the bug jacked way up. The reason that I did that, my engine actually sits at a 10, 11, 12 degree angle kicked up towards the back. Since this is the first time I'm putting oil in it, I actually leveled the motor. So I jacked the front of the bug way up until the motor's level. So right now the motor's level. I'm going to put oil in it. I'm going to put 2 quarts in there, see where it registers on my dipstick. Then I'm going to put a 3rd quart in. I'm going to see where it registers on the dipstick. And then I'm going to crank it over in this position, because this will give the pump the best opportunity to actually grab the oil and pump it through. Then I'm going to let the front end back down so it'll be sitting like it normally does. I'm going to crank it up again, see if it grabs oil again and turns off the light. And for this, when I do this, there's nothing hooked up to my distributor yet. This isn't even the distributor I'm going to be using. This will be my ignition wire. It's not even hooked up yet. So there's not going to be any ignition going. The belt's not on the alternator. And I've pulled out the spark plugs so that it can spin pretty freely. So let's throw 2 quarts of oil in there and see where it reads on the dipstick. So it's really hard to tell, but with 2 quarts in there, it's coming about halfway up the lines there. This is the oil pressure one. This is the alternator one. This one's not going to go off because, number 1, I'm not starting the engine. Number 2, I don't have the belt on. But I'm going to crank this over, and once I make oil pressure, this light should go off. There you go. You know, it builds oil pressure. The light goes off. I stopped cranking, and then it takes a while for all the oil that it just built up to push itself out, and then once it goes down to almost 0 psi, then that light comes back on. So that's cool. That's really all I was looking to do. I wanted to put some oil in there, make sure that it registered on my dipstick with an appropriate amount because I've got about, I think I've probably got a little over 2.5 quarts in there. And then I wanted to spin it up. Number one, make sure that the starter's engaging and that things are working with the starter. And then I wanted to actually make sure that it pumped oil and that it made oil pressure and turned off the light. And it did everything that I wanted it to do, so I'm really happy with that. Now I just have to watch it and see if it appears as though it has any serious leaks. I don't see anything major at this point. So thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it and that hopefully it motivates you guys to work on something of your own, whatever it might be. And hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Take care.